The more I learn about this mad world, the more mysterious it seems. Welcome to Vanadium. I'm Chris Rankin. I remember the movie Fire in the Sky about Travis Walton's abduction by gray aliens. It came out just before I started high school, and I remember hoping it was made up, that something like that could never happen, and people who see aliens have to be either lying or seeing things. 8th grade was scary enough. Who wanted to deal with an extraterrestrial threat? I started to disbelieve in the idea of an alien presence on Earth for many years, even while loving shows such as The X-Files and Sightings, and books like Communion. For my young adulthood, I was keenly aware of the capacity for human imagination to take over perception, and also the thirst some people have for attention. I was starting to study science, and I felt like things were starting to make sense. I wrote off stories of UFO encounters as made up, or secret military aviation tests. I was still interested in the topic, but I grouped it in the category of myth. But time went on. I dug a little deeper, and more, new evidence emerged that couldn't be cast aside. In my junior year of high school, March of 1997, half of Arizona saw something in the sky that couldn't be explained by weather balloons or advanced Navy fighter planes. The famous Phoenix Lights. This particular sighting involved thousands of separate eyewitnesses, scattered over an area hundreds of square miles, with consistent and amazing stories of what they saw in the sky. Reports of the unidentified object flooded the 911 lines, and emergency calls came in by the hundreds in Arizona, Nevada, and northern Mexico. I even remember hearing about this one on the news. It all started about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. A man reported seeing a V-shaped object above Henderson, Nevada. He said it was about the size of a Boeing 747, sounded like a rushing wind, and had 6 lights on its leading edge. The governor of the state of Arizona, Fife Symington, great name, was one of the eyewitnesses who went on record about it with a very similar report. So did Snake Plissken, Wyatt Earp himself, Kurt Russell, who it turns out is a pilot. Badass. And he was flying his Cessna at the time he saw the unidentified phenomena over Arizona. Recently, Commander David Fravor, fighter pilot for almost 20 years, described his bizarre encounter over the ocean with the famous Tic Tac UFO. Nothing had prepared him for what he witnessed during a routine training mission on November 14, 2004. Fravor told ABC News, "I can tell you, I think it was not from this world. I'm not crazy. I haven't been drinking. It was after 18 years of flying. I've seen pretty much about everything I can see in that realm, and this was nothing close." The Navy is pretty particular when it comes to who they let fly $300 million airplanes. These fighter pilots are tough as nails, with rock-solid nerves, and aren't prone to on-the-job fantasizing. I also don't think UFO stories at the water cooler help with career advancement in the Navy or anywhere else. And Bob Lazar, who doesn't strike me as a fraud, has some very compelling and convincing descriptions of his work at Area 51. All this brings me to the mystery man, Salvatore Pais, and makes me think his fantastical inventions may not be just a hoax. Maybe he is reverse engineering something from somewhere else, or from the future somehow. Or maybe he has possession of an old relic from an advanced society from the distant past. I know this sounds crazy, but some very smart people in the Navy and other places are taking Pais's inventions seriously. Officials who oversee his projects making formal statements about working prototypes? Crackpot inventions don't come with these sorts of endorsements. Salvatore Pais worked for the US Navy, and his patents seem to be about 100 years too advanced. There are plenty of goofy patents out there, some with some very bold claims. From gasoline additives that give you 70,000 miles per gallon, to every manner of perpetual motion machine. It doesn't take much of a technical background to recognize most of these as frauds upon immediate glance. But Pais's patents have a genuine ring to them. It's clear there is a strong grasp of physics and engineering. Although I don't get how they could work based on the designs in the patents, he seems to draw from tremendous creativity and breadth of knowledge. But, more than that, the military and government authorities, close to the projects, have vouched for these ideas and inventions on more than one occasion. I wrote a book called Anne Marie's Asylum, in 2013 about scientists developing technology so advanced they're basically performing magic. Anne Marie's Asylum was intended to be a novel, fiction. At the time, I didn't know there was a scientist rumored to be doing just that in real life. One of his patents, titled Craft Using an Inertial Mass Reduction Device, arrived to the US Patent Office with a letter, personally vouching for the authenticity of the invention, from the Chief Technical Officer of the Naval Aviation Enterprise, claiming the Chinese are already developing similar capabilities. We're talking gravity bending and room temperature superconductors, light years ahead of the current state of the art. Telling people who work in condensed matter physics that you have a room temperature superconductor is kind of like saying you have a pet Sasquatch and a pet unicorn. If you detect envy in my voice, it's because I'm seething with jealousy at the possibility this work is genuine. Some argue that the claims and Pais's work simply cannot be real. Others say his work is propaganda, meant to mislead the Chinese about the state of the US warfighting technology. Just like his scientific work, Salvatore Pais is a bit of a mystery. He lives a quiet life in Maryland and has virtually no online presence. We do know he received a Ph.D. in mechanical and aerospace engineering from Case Western Reserve University in 1999. The title of his doctoral dissertation, Bubble Generation Under Reduced Gravity Conditions for both co-flow and cross-flow configurations. We also know he currently works as an aerospace engineer for the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, NAWCAD, that's a cool acronym, at the Naval Air Station near Patuxent River in Maryland. Salvatore Pais is listed as the inventor on 4 patents with the US Navy as the assignee. 1. High-frequency gravitational wave generator. 2. A room temperature superconductor. 3. An electromagnetic force field generator that could deflect asteroids. And perhaps the wildest of all, one titled Craft Using an Inertial Mass Reduction Device. I'll start with the first one. High-frequency gravitational wave generator. A gravity wave generator is not something you can pick up at Home Depot or even Radio Shack, not even Amazon. Humans just started being able to even detect gravity waves in 2016, and it took a heroic feat of science and engineering, a massive budget, and nearly a decade to assemble a team, build the massive network of instruments and laboratories, and complete the first successful experiment in detection of a gravity wave. The Laser Interferometric Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO, is a large-scale physics experimental facility designed and built to detect cosmic gravity waves. 2 large observatories were built in the United States with the aim of detecting gravitational waves by laser interferometry. These laboratories use perfectly polished mirrors, spaced 4 kilometers apart, which are capable of detecting a change in distance in length smaller than an atom, tinier than the diameter of a single proton. A gravity wave is a ripple of distortion in the fabric of space itself. When the wave passes, the dimensions of physical space expand and contract ever slightly. For a moment, an inch isn't quite an inch. The wave, seen in the experiment, which was just large enough to be detected by LIGO, was created by one of the most massive cataclysms in the universe. The event was caused by the merger of 2 black holes with masses of 14.2 and 7.5 solar masses at a distance of 1.4 billion light years. The signal was named GW151226. It took this cosmic event to create just a tiny gravity wave, and half the resources of the entire world's scientific enterprise just to detect it. But somehow, Salvatore Pais is conjuring them from his lab in Maryland. Even conventional superconductors are physical marvels. The phenomenon seems to exist in defiance of all electrical engineering and physics intuition, even physical law itself. Electrons go from random, chaotic motion to a perfectly coordinated flow, as though the electrons all formed a plan to cooperate, so they could move without bumping into one another, without resistance, almost as though the electrons all become one. The superconducting effect is weird. This isn't something that you see nature doing on its own. Superconductivity requires pure, exotic materials, special metal alloys and ceramics, and cryogenic cold temperatures. Magnetic resonance imaging, MRI machines, rely on superconducting magnets, which require cooling by liquid helium, which is incredibly expensive and contributes heavily to the cost of an MRI procedure. Room temperature superconductivity was referred to as the holy grail of condensed matter physics when I was in school. No one in the field has gotten even close. Just a few incremental improvements over the years, slowly requiring less frigid temperatures for operation. Other than Salvatore Pais, the best anyone can do is liquid nitrogen temperatures. Even dry ice is too hot to make a superconductor work. Unless you're Salvatore Pais, apparently. This brings me to his electromagnetic force field generator. This one sounds cool. Imagine the possibilities. The patent suggests as a possible application, asteroid deflection. In the patent, what it's claimed is a high-energy electromagnetic field generator comprising a shell, the shell having embedded polycrystalline ferroelectric ceramic material, the material being polarized such that the ceramic material exhibits strong piezoelectric effect properties, thus inducing high-frequency vibrations. An electrostatic generator for charging up the shell. The electrostatic generator disposed within the shell. A power plant to generate thermal power. A thermoelectric generator to convert the thermal power generated by the power plant to electrical energy. An electric motor powered by the electrical energy generated by the thermoelectric generator. The electric motor supplying input voltage such that the shell spins at high angular speeds, vibrates at high frequencies, and generates an electromagnetic field. I'll read the first paragraph from the background section of the patent. To date, there are more than 100,000 potentially dangerous asteroids, or near-Earth objects, which cross the Earth's orbit, with only 11,000 having been cataloged and currently tracked. Earth will be impacted again and again. It is only a matter of time and circumstance. Therefore, there is a need for an effective method to deflect or destroy these potentially dangerous asteroids. It is a feature of the present invention to provide a method and apparatus for deflecting or destroying a large asteroid and preventing a possible collision with Earth. The present invention may also deflect or destroy any other type of object. This brings me to craft using an inertial mass reduction device. This is the antigravity craft claim, the big one. This is the one that seems to tie all the ideas together, and the one that reminds me of what Commander Fravor saw, what half of Phoenix, Arizona saw, what Kurt Russell saw. A craft capable of space, air, and water faring that doesn't rely on conventional propulsion, or really propulsion at all. It relies on the bending of the fabric of reality, quoting one of the technical reports. Salvatore Pais has a bold idea. Create a ripple in space-time and go surfing. There are a lot of smart scientists and engineers at places like JPL and SpaceX, doing amazing, cutting-edge work in this field, but I don't believe there are many reality-bending projects like this in their 2021 budgets. One other interesting thing, both Pais's research and some of his patents also contain acknowledgments to the work of Dr. Harold E. Puthoff, co-founder and vice president of science and technology of To the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge's think tank, I guess you'd call it. I discussed this a bit in the metamaterials episode. Puthoff is an electrical engineer and inventor who has published research on the physics of polarized vacuums, but has also been extensively involved with remote viewing. New ideas and new science aren't often welcomed with open arms. Sometimes challenges to convention are met with doubt and skepticism, sometimes marginalization, and sometimes outright censorship and hostility. In the early 20th century, an assembly of some of the finest engineering minds at the time came to the consensus that jet engines would never be realized, that jet aircraft and rockets would forever remain a dream. In 1923, Edgar Buckingham of the U.S. National Bureau of Standards published a report expressing skepticism that jet engines would be economically competitive with prop-driven aircraft, saying, "There does not appear to be, at present, any prospect whatever that jet propulsion of the sort here considered will ever be of practical value, even for military purposes." Wow, talk about being wrong. Science often starts with pseudoscience, like crawling before taking the first steps on a journey that never ends. As I get older, I've noticed something that surprises me. As life goes on, the more experience I have behind me, the more people I meet, the more my mind opens to new possibilities, doors that were closed or even invisible in the past. Thank you very much. This is Chris Rankin.